Hello. Today's drawing is an illustration of a joke that I read on the internet about the Lone Ranger, his Indian friend Tonto, and the Lone Ranger's horse called Silver. I used to see these old films when I was a young lad, many years ago, and quite enjoyed them. But anyway, I saw this joke and I thought, it's quite funny that, especially the punchline at the end. So judge for yourself what you think. Thank you. So let's get started on the Lone Ranger's horse, Silver. So let's draw the eyes first of all. There we go. The other eye. And then we'll draw the mane on top. And here's the other ear. Like so. The mane going down his neck. That's his nose. And that's the bit in his mouth, and let's do his other little nose. There we are. That's okay. Here's the rein coming round to the bit over the saddle. There's the other rein. Well, that's fair enough. Now let's draw the top of Tonto's head. I'm drawing it in like this because I want him to be at the front. There's the feather. Now let's draw the saddle. And here's the stirrup. Yeah, that's okay. Let's draw the leg coming down. I always find drawing horses' legs difficult, but it's good enough for a cartoon anyway. That's roughly the shape. And now let's draw Tonto. Top of his head, and the hair flowing out. Flowing out there. Nose, and I'm tilting the pen to draw a thin line because you can get thick and thin lines with this calligraphy pen I'm using. There we go, and he's running, so let's have a bit of action with his hands. That's it. Now let's draw beads round his neck. Most Indians have these kind of beads. At least they do in the westerns I've seen anyway. And here's his moccasin, and we'll have a little patch there to show he's hit hard times and he can't afford new moccasins, so he's make do and mend. Now here's his other hand. And what I'm going to do with him is he's carrying a bucket of water. You'll see why in a minute when I tell the joke, but anyway, there's the bucket of water over his arm. And we'll do the water spilling out as he runs. Right, there we go. And now a few splashes here and there. Now let's draw his other leg. Coming down And as you see, he is running quite fast. Right, that's fair enough. There's Tonto running around. Now let's finish the horse. There's the back leg. I don't like drawing horses as a rule, but it's fair enough, this particular one. Right. There's Silver. Now we'll add a bit of colour to the drawing, and while I'm using ordinary watercolours here, and while I'm adding the watercolours, I'll tell the joke. So it concerns the Lone Ranger and Tonto, and they were going across the desert in Nevada, and Tonto's horse collapses with heat stroke and dies. So the Lone Ranger says to Tonto, well, get on the back of Silver and we'll head for the nearest town, which they do. Poor old Silver's carrying them all the way to this lonely western town, so when they get there, they get off the horse and go into a saloon for a drink. And they sat down, ordered a beer, and after a few minutes a tall cowboy walked in and he said, "Who owns a horse outside?" And the Lone Ranger stood up and, expecting trouble, he hitched up his gun butt and said, "I do, what's the problem?" And the cowboy looked at the Lone Ranger and said, "I just thought you would like to know that your horse is nearly dead outside." So the Lone Ranger and Tonto rushed outside, and sure enough, Silver was absolutely sweating and near heat exhaustion, and he's in a real state of collapse. So the Lone Ranger said to Silver, sorry, what am I saying? Said to Tonto, "Look, Tonto, can you go and get a bucket of water and bring it to Silver here, and it will relieve the strain that he's under." And Tonto complained a bit, and he said, "You know, why should I go?" He said, "You know, it's your horse." And the Lone Ranger said, "Look, we've been friends for years, you know, can't you do this one favour for me?" So Tonto grumbled, and off he went and got a bucket of water. And then the Lone Ranger said to Tonto, "Look, as an extra precaution, do you think you could run around Silver very fast to create a breeze? And that will make him cooler as he drinks the water." And Tonto was grumbling away, but anyway, he did it. And the Lone Ranger, he had nothing else to do, so he went back into the saloon and finished his beer. And just then another cowboy came in, and he said to the saloon in general, "Who owns the horse outside?" And the Lone Ranger stands up again and says, "I do, what's wrong with him this time?" And the cowboy looks him in the eye and says, "Nothing, but you left your engine running." Ah, well, left your engine running. I liked it anyway.